You'd be amazed what I've been up to this week. I have replaced the feed dogs on my Pfaff Creative Vision. So I managed to find, yay, at long last, a local dealer in Toronto, near to Toronto. They're based in Hamilton, and I thought, well, everything's closed, but I'll send an email and see if they're at least checking the emails. And sure enough, Nova Sewing in Hamilton was receiving emails. So I ordered this online without having to go in virtually, and it's been shipped. And this is the one that I took out of the machine. So why did I do this? So one of the issues I have with feed dogs, is this style particularly, is they tend to dull really quickly. And if people are not careful, these, because they're so fine compared to the Singer ones, they tend to dull. And if people are clumsy or sloppy and put metal on metal and then run the machine, these will dull. And they will dull anyway, but I mean, they're it looks theoretically like they're okay. However, I wasn't sure if there was a genuine problem, and certainly when the new ones arrive, they are much sharper, like much more grip than these. So even though it did kind of grip the fabric, the new one is better. But why did I do it? Now, I had made a comment to a few people who inquired if this machine was any good, because I've heard sort of bad reviews about my Creative Vision, because it's an older technology and they've replaced it now with a newer type. But this was the problem I had, and it's probably not obvious, but if you look where my finger is, that's a straight line of sewing, and what you can see is all these stitches missed. So the movement, the back and forth, side to side movement what this machine does wasn't perfect. And I thought, how is that possible with a digital machine? But I saw this when I was working on these. You can see the right hand side is not the same as the left. So I thought, this really doesn't please me much. I cannot understand how this is possible in the digital machine. So I tried it with lots of different types of fabric and everything else, and ultimately came to the conclusion that either this machine is not great, which is hard to imagine, or something's wrong. So considering I have no idea how you're supposed to adjust a digital pattern, I thought, well, the only thing I can logically figure out is that maybe the feed dogs aren't feeding right. But it's feeding right in the right direction, it's not feeding so well in the left direction. So I looked very carefully, I'll try and keep this on the white, at these feed dogs. And when it was in the machine, what I noticed is that this left-hand side was just dull and not the same as the right-hand side. It's really not obvious no matter what I do. Maybe that angle would be... But I thought, well, whatever, I'll order new ones. It wasn't cheap. It was about $124 Canadian or something. You know, all I wanted was this bit here, but it comes as the whole assembly, and that's fine. So nightmare taking it out. As you can imagine, the whole front covers, etc. came out. However, I did manage to get it out. And then I wanted to try it to see if it made any difference. So I had to learn how it works. So there's a shaft. If you see there are two holes there. There's a shaft that goes in this, that where my thumb is. The lower one. There's a big pole that comes out of a servo motor in the machine to pull it left and right, side to side. The top hole there, which is matched on this side, is where it hinges, so it can drop up and down like that. So there's a little grub screw that goes in the top which connects into this shaft, and that's how you get it out. But what was more interesting is once I put the adjustments in and ran the test, you can see it is now sewing straight. I thought, woohoo, I fixed it. So I did ran a few tests of some of the fancy patterns. So you can imagine this has to go side to side to make it work. I was a little underwhelmed with this butterfly, just because these I would have thought should have matched better. However, that could be the stretch, the bias stretch of the fabric. As you can see, so I've not tried it with stabilizer underneath, but it's perfectly acceptable. It's just so I think that little loop there on the bottom and that loop on the top, which is beside the body, I think that's probably just a feeding thing because of this stretchy fabric. However, it worked here, so I'm happy with that. This was a mess, but that's one of those learning experiences. I was just trying to sew over top of couched, and I think it prevented the feeding properly, so that's a lesson learned, to be careful that it won't feed over stuff. You have to watch the thicknesses of your fabric. Not wildly surprising. But it looks like finally this issue has been resolved. The majority of these connect properly, so if you compare the before and the after, where it didn't meet up, and I thought, well, how is that possible? Now it's meeting up. So whether it was replacing the feed dogs or just putting it back in and adjusting it here, I don't know. I don't particularly care. All I care is it is now working 100%, which is what I expect of my machines. So I'm quite proud of myself today, having achieved that. Anyway, I will speak with you all soon.